Okay, in today's demonstration, I am going to be doing quick color studies on 4x6 index cards. And I'm choosing that because we're just doing tests and studies, and I want it to feel non-threatening and fun, and you can just get a whole stack of these. Now, as we go along and you get more comfortable, you might want to get higher quality paper, because I think you're going to find you'll end up liking some of these. So hopefully a lot of them. So here's my printmaking roller. That is going to be our paintbrush. And then I'm going to work in a blue palette today. I've got these new blue. This is an azurite blue, smalt hue, kind of a purpley blue, Prussian blue, and then I'll bring in, that's kind of my base, and then I'll bring in some other colors, quinacridone, nickel azo gold. I've got a fluorescent and a Titan pale green, okay? So first, I'm gonna start with sort of like, what's my background color? I think I'm gonna start with the Prussian, because this is an open acrylic, which means it has a slower drying time. If I can also use my retarder to slow the drying time of my other paint, but I'm going to be working fast and furious, so I don't think I will. Another thing to note, like on these golden, here you can really see it on this one, they put the paint on top of these lines. You can see the lines. That means that's a more transparent paint. So the Titan green, the lines aren't showing up, not as transparent. So it's just something to take note of. Let me just close the door. Okay, so before I start, I'm going with the paint. I'm going to put some lines down on my cards, kind of like we did last time, because as I work the paint on top, when it's transparent, you'll see the lines coming through. I'm not really outlining any composition. You might even think of your line in terms of different emotions. So just putting something on the page. Don't overthink it. And then we'll see how that factors in to the composition. Okay, so here's my Prussian blue on my palette paper. And let's see, what is that, about a quarter teaspoon? Okay. Okay, so I roll this out, and so on here you can sort of see there's these little tacky marks, I call them. They should look even, almost like the surface of the ocean, calm. If you get too much paint on there, and maybe I'll do it on purpose, it's going to be globby and blobby. Okay, so I can roll it straight like my examples, or I could do a curve if I want. Okay. Less paint, a little more transparency, right? Okay, now another thing is, if you just tap it, you're going to get just a very direct shape, or a little less roll, smaller shapes. Okay, now bring in a second color. I'm not bothering to clean in between. You know, if you want to get rid of some of the ink, you can roll it off on a blank paper. I'm choosing not to do that because I'm leaving it up to chance. What am I going to get if I don't, in this case, if I don't clean my brayer? Okay, so here's that. It's called smalt hue, kind of transparent. So I could roll a little bit here. So as I roll, the colors will be interacting with each other. Now, these are pretty close to each other. So not a lot of contrast, right? I'm actually going to skip to the quinacridone so I get a little more contrast. So as I'm rolling over here, that's becoming kind of a green, right? And at this point, I'm not thinking composition. I'm just making quick decisions like, okay, if I roll that over here, what's that going to do? And it's hot in here, so these colors are drying kind of quickly. Oops, not the one I wanted. Okay, now I'm going to try this azurite blue, see what I get. Oops. So I'm going to do two at the same time. Here we go. Okay. I'll do pretty color. Put some green in it. Okay. Okay. That seems like the structure seems pretty good. Now I'm going to come in and I want to, what it seems to need right now is a little bit of accent, a little bit of contrast. And so I'm going kind of wild with this fluorescent magenta. So this is sort of something unexpected. And I'm going to use a palette knife. This is another great painting tool. So if I use heavy pressure and I scrape, I'm going to get this subtle transparency. I'm going to do it over here again. Okay. Okay, now what if I don't want it transparent? Less pressure, and I used a 45-degree angle to scrape. I'm going to go down a little bit lower. And just kind of let it very lightly, let it glob on there, almost like butter or something. Now, if I want to use the tip of my angled palette knife, I can scratch in, and now I can see some of the underpainting. Okay. So pressure is going to be your friend here. Okay, now I'm going to add some of this Titan green, which isn't transparent. And I'm just going to demonstrate, I don't expect you to have this, but I'm demonstrating this catalyst tool. It's like an angled palette knife, but it's this flexible silicone. Actually, I'm not going to use that one. I'm going to use this one. It's flexible. And again, I can use, it seems to glide over the surface nicely. I can same thing, lower down, I'm going to get a bigger glob, right? If I want more of a transparency, I'm holding it up straighter, more pressure. Okay, so this lesson looks simple, but there's a lot to play with. Color interaction, paint application, and then hopefully some sort of interesting composition. I can also then take my palette knife and scrape out an area. We'll be doing that later. I like to call that excavation. Okay, and then as you're working, it's very back and forth. I can then come in if I want and go, time to bring in some more scribble. Time to glob some of these various paints on thicker. And it's kind of endless, you know. Good to have maybe a damp rag so you can wipe off some of your tools. I'm letting my painting brayer soak in a bucket of water. Let's see, what else? So you're going to wind up with a whole bunch of these, and then as we go along, I think we'll keep doing these quick studies, and then there might be one where you'd say, oh, I'd really like to make a larger piece from that. I'll take photographs, and then with the video, I'll include these. See, I'm scraping this because I thought this is too similar in shape as that Titan buff. And then you might reach a point where you really don't know what else to add. You can leave them alone, come back later and add more. You can easily rotate them to figure out which direction you might like best.